in South Georgia, where we're located. And of course, you see a shot behind us of Neyland Stadium up in Knoxville, Tennessee. We're not on, excuse me, on location there today. We'll be watching the game on television. Beautiful stadium, except for that orange stuff, you know? But wow, University of Georgia and Tennessee in a big high stakes game today with Georgia, the number one team in the country in the college football playoffs. And rightfully so, where Georgia needed to be the whole time, will be taking on Tennessee. Two programs seemingly going in opposite directions, at least from last week. Georgia having a big win over Ole Miss, at that time ranked in the top 10 in the nation, and Tennessee just getting dominated by Missouri. The game, of course, starts at 3:30. It'll be on CBS. The lead crew will be there. Nestler and the other crew will be there. And so if you're watching it on television, there we go. 3:30, Neyland Stadium, Knoxville, Tennessee, on CBS. Georgia is a 10.5 point favorite at the moment. Hey, Amber, how you doing? Roman says he's ready for game day. Well, I'm ready for game day too. We thought we'd just pop in here just a few minutes before the game will get underway at 3:30 to give you the opportunity maybe to put your 2 cents worth in as we anticipate this game between Georgia and Tennessee. My prediction is this is going to be a rough and tumble game. Tennessee, we will not see the same Tennessee team that played last week against Missouri, I don't believe. That stadium's going to be rocking. I think it holds like 104,000 or something like that, a ridiculous number. And it is already the reports we are getting that stadium is rocking at the moment. And two, see, this is going to be tough to handle because you have Dolly Parton on site singing Rocky Top. Now that's going to be something to overcome, but I'm sure that the Georgia Bulldogs will be able to take care of that. So what do you think about this game? My prediction is Georgia will win 28-21. I don't see this as being a runaway game for Georgia. I think the key is going to be the first quarter. And please, Georgia defense, can I have your attention, please? Please don't let Tennessee go down the field and score first and immediately. And in the last 5 games that Georgia has played, the opposing team has scored first on the initial drive, the first drive of the game. Let's don't let that happen. Okay. Travis says dogs are going to win by 50. Wow, Travis, you're a little better. You're a little more confident than I am. But I'm from the Larry Munson school of, oh no, we got to play these guys, and that kind of thing. So my prediction is Georgia will win this game 28-21. So I'm on the more pessimistic side, but I do have Georgia winning. Michael has Georgia winning 42-10. Yeah, I hope so. I hope, and, the typical keys are going to be the keys to the game. An efficient first quarter for Georgia, kind of taking the crowd out of it a little bit. Georgia getting on the board first, dominating defensively. Tennessee's going to be high. Jamal has 59-10. Boy, I hope you guys are right. It would make my afternoon a more comfortable afternoon. I don't know. Maybe I'm rethinking or thinking this thing wrong, but I think this is going to be a pretty tough game. Jaron has Georgia winning 42-21. Yeah, so, okay, I have it 28-21. We'll see. I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm completely, totally, absolutely, way off base with my prediction. Now, a little bit about last week, of course. Georgia just had a dominating game last week. The beating Ole Miss 52-17 at home. Georgia had 611 yards total offense. Carson Beck threw for 306 yards and 2 touchdowns. Kendall Milton had 127 yards on the ground. This is all last week. And Georgia had 300 yards rushing last week. Georgia's defense played an excellent game last week. They gave up that first touchdown, but then after that, Georgia's defense just really came to play, and it shut down the Ole Miss offense pretty effectively. This will be the 53rd time that Georgia and Tennessee will play. The Bulldogs hold a edge in the series, winning 27 games, losing 23. There's two ties. Georgia has won the previous 6 games. The most recent game, of course, was that game last year. And boy, we were on hand, actually on the sidelines, when Tennessee came in as the number one team in the country against Georgia, and Georgia won in the rain, 27-13. Stetson Bennett, remember, the phone call thing where the Tennessee fans had got his number and were flooding his cell phone and that kind of thing. And Stetson famously scored a touchdown right in front of the Tennessee section and did, that number, and which was kind of cool. Tennessee lost last week, 36-7 to Missouri. And I got to tell you, Missouri is a very good football team. And Missouri, that the running back dude, I forgot what is Schuster or Chester or something like that. Man, what a game did he have? So Missouri really took care of business against Tennessee last week. Josh Heupel said he was very disappointed in how his team finished that game last week. He didn't get into the territory of coming across as really jumping on his team in a public forum. But he was just very honest. He was disappointed at how he coached and how the team played in that game. Tennessee has Jalen Wright, junior running back, pretty good running back. He has 848 yards rushing, over 7 yards per attempt. Tennessee has a very good running game. You think about Tennessee in passing, but right now their focus is on the run game. And when they run well, when Tennessee runs well and gets over 200 yards a game, they win the game generally. Georgia coming into this game is 43-1 in their last 44 games. I mean, seriously, 43-1. When was the last time you heard of anything approaching that? 43-1. It's interesting. Before this run started, Kirby Smart's coaching record was 48-14. He had won 48 games, lost 14. Now his record after this tremendous run is Kirby Smart has won 91 games and lost 15. Just some of the team stats to look at. Georgia is averaging 40.6 points a game. Tennessee is averaging 32 points a game. Georgia is averaging 329.7 yards passing per game. Tennessee is averaging 252 yards a game. Georgia is averaging 180.9 yards rushing a game. Tennessee, 213 and 0.3 yards a game. Georgia is giving up 15 points a game. Tennessee is giving up 20 points a game. Georgia is giving up 194 yards average in passing yards to the opponents, while Tennessee is giving up 248 yards. Georgia is giving up 107 yards rushing. Tennessee, 113 yards rushing as well. Now, coming in, and we appreciate all you guys giving your comments, and we're looking for your predictions. Let's see. We have Jonathan. He says 42-21. Okay. Kirby was mad at practice. Ooh, that's not good. Yeah, I've seen Kirby mad. That's not a pretty picture. Indeed. Get ready, go Dogs. All right, good deal. Now, Carson Beck, I tell you, we were all nervous. You got to admit it. We were all nervous when the season began. How was Carson Beck going to be at quarterback? We all had our questions and our doubts and that kind of thing. I want to tell you, as the season goes by, this dude is tough. Carson Beck is tough. He's thrown for over 3,000 yards. He's on pace to shatter Stetson Bennett's single season, record for most yards passing in a season. Carson Beck has passed for over 3,027 yards, 18 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. He has 100 yards rushing, 3 rushing touchdowns, and 10 yards rushing per game. Dajon Edwards, 691 yards rushing. Brock Bowers, who'll be playing today, of course, thank God. 44 receptions, 600 yards in receptions, 5 touchdowns. On the other hand, Joe Milton, Brett says 34-20. James says 34-18. Okay. That's getting closer to my 20. I took 28-21. I hope I'm wrong. Man, I hope I'm wrong. Benji, you go for it, brother. Joe Milton has passed for 2,284 yards, 16 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. Joe Milton has, the Tennessee quarterback. So Carson Beck has much better stats than Joe Milton. And why isn't Carson Beck? I mean, you hear some people at times kind of on the periphery say, well, maybe we should consider put Carson Beck in the Heisman Trophy consideration. Yes. I mean, seriously, dude. And I was watching ESPN Game Day this morning, and they were going through scenarios of who's going to make the playoffs and who's going to lose this and lose that. And they had Georgia on the board as a possibility, and almost all of them ignored Georgia. But Georgia is still to this point, the number one team in the country, being disrespected. And I'm a little tired of it, to be honest with you. We're talking nationwide. I hope Georgia does run the Vols out of their stadium today. And then, of course, you got Georgia Tech. You can't overlook Georgia Tech. I mean, you can't overlook any college football team, especially when you go into their house to play. But you would anticipate Georgia being able to take care of Georgia Tech, right? I mean, you would anticipate that. But then you have the SEC championship game, the first Sunday or Saturday rather in December. Man, my hope is Georgia just wins this game very handily, much more than what I'm saying. And kind of, say to those who are so disrespectful of this program and this team nationwide, hey, it's time for you guys to get on board. This is a good football team. And it is a good football team. Georgia is. They're the number one team in the country, and they've won a gazillion games in a row. And they deserve that respect. More so than I think, and maybe it's just me. Maybe, I'm just looking at things the way I look at things, but I don't know. Jalen Wright, running back for Tennessee, 848 yards on the season. They have some pretty good receivers. One of them, I think, is it Sampson? No, it's not Sampson. One of their top receivers is out for the game. And hey, Michael, we will. We will. Michael wants to be on our program, and we'll do that. Yeah, Lamb McConkey, by the way, he hurt his ankle last week. He turned his ankle in the game against Ole Miss. Our report is that he's on the field and he's, doing what needs to be done, and he'll be playing. Listen, I don't know if you know this, but Georgia is a very good football team. The University of Georgia is a very good football team. And it's becoming even better as this team is becoming even better as the Saturdays go by. But already there are a lot of people writing Georgia off, and saying, well, Georgia's on upset alert today. And that could very well be true. You don't want to see the disastrous things happen that would cost Georgia this game, maybe. But, and then almost everyone that I have said, Georgia is a early favorite against Alabama in the SEC championship game. But even then, I don't know. Maybe it's my perception. Maybe I look at this thing wonky. But I think I'm a little tired of the disrespect that I think Georgia has received on the national, or is receiving on the national stage. Tim says Georgia wins 41-24. Now, there's some interesting games going on at the moment. At the moment, Louisville and Miami are tied 31-31. And at the moment, Michigan, this is in the fourth quarter, Michigan is leading Maryland 29-24. So that game's a little close. Number three, Michigan having its hands full with Maryland. So keep an eye out on that. That's in the fourth quarter, about 8 minutes left. Oklahoma's leading BYU 31-24. I was kind of channel surfing and got over to the Oklahoma BYU game just in time to see a pick six, a 100-yard return of an interception for a touchdown by Oklahoma. You don't see that very often, obviously. Arizona's taking it to Utah. Man, Utah's kind of fell apart, 21-0. Of course, Arizona's a pretty good football team too. So, we're kind of keeping our eyes on that. Bert says 42-17, Tim 41-24. Okay. So I got him 28-21. Maybe I'm the odd man here. But that's the way I'm looking. In the college football playoffs, and you know this, and you've heard all about this. Georgia number 1, Ohio State number 2, Michigan number 3, Florida State number 4. Now the big game coming up. I think who's Ohio State? I believe has Minnesota later. Should take care of the Golden Gophers. Michigan is leading Maryland, but it's not out of hand, and that game is in Annapolis. So keep an eye on that. Florida State playing later today. They should win. So you have Georgia, Ohio State, Michigan, Florida State. That's the top 4 at the moment, followed by Washington. Washington has a tougher game later on today. Oregon, Texas, Alabama, Missouri, Louisville, Oregon State, Penn State, Ole Miss, Oklahoma, LSU, Iowa, Arizona, Tennessee, and Notre Dame. Rounding out the top, what is that? Top 19. So there you go. And so Bentley is cheering for Dolly Parton. Well, she can cheer for Dolly Parton, but she needs to cheer for the Bulldogs as well. There you go. So it's going to be an exciting game. We're ready to roll. The game will be coming up in just a few moments. And so let's go Dogs. It's the key is going to be, I think the key is going to be the first quarter. In a lot of ways, typically we need Georgia to be holding in there defensively and do well, be efficient on offense. I remember last year this game very well. We were, as I say, on the sidelines for that game last year. And when Georgia played Tennessee, man, you talking about wild. That stadium was wild. Sanford Stadium was wild that day. Today, Neyland Stadium, we understand, is already rocking out. And that's what you do. You go to your home field, especially when you're playing the number 1 team in the country, and you try to do everything you can to pump your team up and maybe to discourage or demoralize the opposing team with all this noise and all this stuff going on. And so Tennessee fans are fulfilling, their obligation of supporting their team. So listen, we'll be back with you at halftime now. So we invite you to jump in there and join us then. Hopefully we'll be able to talk about a pretty efficient halftime for the Georgia Bulldogs. And oh man, I hope I can make it through this game. This is one of the games that, often it makes me want to pull my hair out. Okay, maybe I won't have to worry about that today. I don't think so. All right, we'll be back at halftime. And we always close what we do here with these famous words.